All right, guys, welcome. This is obviously going to be another very controversial video, and this time I'm going to be going over the South African schools team of the decade. I think I'm going to get a bit of controversy, a bit of argument, but that's what this channel is all about, discussing what we feel is the best of the best, so to speak. So let's get straight into it. Can you believe that we are at the end of another decade? I mean, that is absolutely crazy. It just struck me the other day that it's 2019 already. I mean, this decade's gone pretty fast. I mean, for those of you that are quite a bit younger, maybe it's going slowly, but for those of us that are slightly older, yeah, it's gone damn quickly. Then it got me to thinking, why don't I do a team of the decade? And now this took a long time to complete. And I mean, the reason for that is you only get to do this once every 10 years. So let's get straight into the list and let me know your thoughts and opinions, obviously. So let's start off with fullback. At fullback, I have Jesse Kriel from Maritzburg College, the class of 2012. Now, when you think of Jesse Kriel, traditionally you're going to be thinking of a center. However, at school, he was a lethal fullback. And I think what made his performances stand out even further was that it wasn't the strongest Maritzburg team, but him and his twin Dan, they carried the team through many matches. So that's my first player on the list. At fullback, Jesse Kriel from Maritzburg College, class of 2012. Then my wing, I got Muller Plessis from Paarl in 2017. Look, the guy generally preferred to play fullback. That's sort of the position where he could utilize the space. But for me personally, I think he was absolutely devastating on the wing. Had a very high work rate, had pace to burn, and really an uncanny ability to get through opposition defenses. I still expect him to one day wear the green and gold. Then my first center is Warick Gelant from Outeniqua 2013. Now, Kriel went from fullback to center, and Gelant did the opposite. He was a devastating center at school, but now he's playing as a fullback and sometimes as a wing. Now, this guy's a vital cog in the Outeniqua machine, and they actually recorded wins over Grey College and Paarl boys in their year. They were absolutely devastating as a team. He was an amazing runner, and I think anyone that watched him during this era knew that he was destined for higher honours. My next centre is Serfontein from Grey College, class of 2011. He doesn't need much of an introduction. This guy was almost genetically bred to be a star rugby player. I mean, his father was an SA schools player, and his great-grandfather was the great Jacques Slater, Springbok wing. And he was a part of obviously just another unbeaten Grey College team. And a couple of years after he left school, he was voted the under-20 player of the year, and shortly thereafter won his Springbok colours. Then my other wing, I've got Duhan from Outeniqua, the class of 2013. And what a player this guy was. I mean, if there was a team of this century, I would probably put him as one of the first names on my list. He's extremely strong, pace to burn, and he's actually the brother of Aka van der Merwe. I mean, he had everything that you would want in a winger. Absolutely amazing player. Right now, he's playing in Scotland, and in my opinion, he's one of the best, if not the best, wings in Europe. And it's quite sad to say that he's likely to be lost to South African rugby. I think he'll qualify for Scotland in a couple of years, and then he'll become a star wing for them. And if I was a Springbok selector, he'd be on a plane to Japan. I still rate this player very, very highly. Then my fly-off, this was a very tough position to call, but I went with Damian Willemse from Preez, class of 2016. You had Johan Goosen, who was absolutely unbelievable. Andre Pollard, I mean, while he was still at school, he played for the South African under-20 team. But I looked at a sort of a player who I really thought would get my backline moving, and to me, that it was Damian Willemse. This guy was just truly special as a player when he was playing for Preez. There's no one that had his footwork. His pace off the mark was unbelievable, and his ability to spot a gap, he just absolutely devastated opposition teams. And to this day, I'm still a fan of Willemse Pollard 10 and 12 combination for the Springboks. I think that would be absolutely kick-ass. I really think this guy's a once-in-a-generation player, and I hope South African rugby just doesn't stuff this kid around and actually puts him into his preferred position. Otherwise, we're looking at another Affies du Toit or Brent Russell situation, but I still think this guy's just got too much talent not to become like a world-class player. And then scrum off, I got Jaden Hendrikse from Glenwood, class of 2018. Another special player and a vital cog in the Green Machine's unbeaten run in 2018. At one stage I was getting really concerned about our ability to produce high quality scrum halves, but I think the future is looking really bright with players such as Jaden Hendrikse. His tactical kicking's on point, his distribution's brilliant, and he's got a vision that sort of makes a mockery of his youth. I think there's a huge future for this young talent. Then eighth man, I got Rikus Bothma from Paarl Gym, class of 2013, and he would be my captain. To me, the easiest entry on the list. He was absolutely devastating, possibly the best I've seen this decade. He was one of the top try scorers in the country while playing eighth man. He's an absolute beast at school level. But I think injuries curtailed his career a bit. I'm not sure what he's doing right now, but very often what I do is I do a quick Google search in the hope that he's making some sort of comeback. Because when I watched this kid play, I was 110% convinced that it would be 2, 3, 4 years and we'd see him in a Springbok jersey. But it just wasn't meant to be, I'm afraid. And then my first flank, I got Evan Riss from Paarl Boys, class of 2018. I mean, this guy surely is a Springbok in the making. My Young Guns class of 2018, I did a vote who I thought you guys thought would have the most success, and it wasn't even close. I mean, he got more than half the votes. He was a squad player for the South African under-20 team, and he's already made his Currie Cup debut. For a forward, that's almost unheard of. Your first year out of school and playing Currie Cup rugby, that just shows you what kind of talent he is. Huge kid with huge talent. I mean, look at the size in that photograph. You're looking at an 18-year-old there, guys. that's what's scary. My initial prediction was that he would probably move to Europe to get the most out of his talent, but it seems that Saru have seen what we all have been seeing, and I sort of get the feeling they're pretty intent on grooming him for higher honours, so that's lucky for us. My other flank is Jean-Luc Dupreez from Kearsney, class of 2013. I mean, they wreaked havoc at school level, the twins. They were unreal. To me, Jean-Luc was the better of the twins. I'm not taking anything away from Dan, but Jean-Luc was an absolute beast. Now, Kearsney aren't exactly a powerhouse, but the brothers made them probably the strongest Eastern Region school that year. Right now, he's off to the Cell Sharks with his two brothers, but he still became a Springbok nonetheless. So he's somewhat fulfilled his talent, but at school level, absolutely devastating. And then my first lock, I got Salmaan Moerat from Paarl Boys, class of 2016. He never tasted defeat in a first team jersey. I mean, outside of Grey College, it's almost unheard of. I mean, that's 2 seasons unbeaten against the best schools in the country, and he was a vital part of that team. I think he was Erasmus's go-to in the physical confrontation, and he was also a very good line-out general. Leadership quality showed. He ended up captaining SA schools as well as SA under-20, and in my opinion, a future Springbok, no doubt about it. My other lock, Snyman from Affies, the class of 2013. Now, what's really scary to think is that Snyman hasn't grown that much since school level. I mean, he's bulked up a bit, but this guy was a giant. I mean, take a look at that picture. He's no doubt the force of the decade. I mean, he caused all sorts of issue for the opposition. And I mean, he stole lineouts like a Gupta near a government tender. It was absolutely crazy. That Affies team of 2013 was one of the top teams of this century for sure. They were outstanding. And he was at the forefront of that. Like I said, it's often looked like it was a man against boys when he was playing. I mean, that number 14 you guys are seeing there, I think that's Spoo and Nkosi. So... he's not a small boy exactly, but look at him. Look at them. I mean, you got 5 players there chasing one guy, and this is what you'd see every game, guys. I mean, he was absolutely unbelievable. And the scariest thing is that it still looks like at an international level when you see Snyman. Remember the time that he fought the Australian rugby team, 10 guys against him, and he was just smiling and laughing at them. It's like, damn, I mean, this is Frankenstein's monster sort of reincarnated on a rugby field. Thank God we have him and the opposition don't. I think he's definitely fulfilled his much vaunted promise, and there's no doubt in my mind he's going to become a Springbok legend in the future. Then at prop, my first prop, I got Thomas de Toit, Paarl Boys class of 2013. Thomas the Tank, easily the most powerful prop in the country at school level. I mean, it wasn't even close. Very inspirational captain for Paarl Boys as well. I think we can all agree he hasn't quite realised his potential 100%, but he's still relatively young, and sometimes front rankers take a bit of time to develop, but definitely a legend of school rugby in my opinion. And then my hooker, Jacques, Selborne class of 2019. I mean, they call him the Raging Bull, and for damn good reason. I mean, once this kid gets the ball, it's almost like Juggernaut from the X-Men. He's almost impossible to stop. He's got a huge future ahead of him. And what I like the most is that I just saw a maturity in him this year that I didn't see last year. And it's just amazing what difference a year can make. And I think we got to credit Piwe Nomlomo as a coach for that. I think what he did was he definitely reined in the reckless aspect of Goosen's aggression and honed it more in. And I think, thrusting him into a leadership position certainly helped in that sort of transition, so to speak. And it's not easy to put in a player from this year for the team of the decade, but with Goosen, just very easy. I don't think there was another hooker that came close to him. And then my final selection at prop, another player from this year, Jan-Hendrik from Grey College. I mean, I just had to put this guy down. I mean, there are a lot of great props on the list, but Jan-Hendrik, in my opinion, would have blown them all away. Even when they moved him to lock, he was devastating. What a season this guy's had. I mean, he was great last year, but this year was just exceptional. And I haven't seen a talent like this in a long time in terms of the prop. Maybe since Thomas du Toit. I mean, we've had talented props, don't get me wrong, but this is just a very, very special player. I think his next move is going to be very important. So he's going to need to sign up with a union where there's a disciplined structure, where they can sort of hone his aggression and channel it into a positive direction, because left unchecked, I mean, this can be devastating. I mean, you need to take that aggression and put it into the right package. Otherwise, this is going to be a red card machine with respect. I mean, this guy just doesn't give a shit when he's on the field. He'll mow everyone down. You'll just thrash them all over the field, not giving a damn, and he's highly aggressive as well. But I don't think these are negative aspects. They can be negative aspects, but in terms of the positive, you got to play with an exceptional amount of energy and power and passion. And if that can be honed in the right direction, you've got a Springbok legend in the making. Not just a great Springbok prop, a Springbok legend in the making. That's how much I rate this guy. Anyway, guys, like I said, this is probably going to be quite controversial, but thank you very much for watching. I look forward to what your thoughts and opinions are. Who would you rather have in the list? And as always, have a great week further. Cheers, bye.